Welcome back, and we're continuing off from where we're continuing from where we left off in the last video. All right, so right here, I need to now start building up my game loop. And right now, if I hit F5, you'll see where we left off is that we have a character up there, and it can move left and it can move right. But you notice how there's this pause between the movement. I can make it move further just by adding, instead of adding one when I hit the left key or one when I hit the right key, I can add like 10 or 20, whatever. It'll go a lot faster. But I don't like how it's stopping, and we needed this to be a lot smoother. And the way we're going to make that smoother is by adding a game loop, so it's constantly being evaluated. Now, I'm going to put my game loop. I'm going to create a procedure called game loop, and I have that down here, I think. Yes. So right here I have this stub here called private sub game loop, and you're going to want to have that because this is what we're going to run off every frame. Now we could create what's called a timer event, but we don't want to use a timer because we can run into issues with the timer not completing something in time, or if someone's computer runs faster, their timer is going to run faster, or we don't want any abnormalities coming about with our game. We want the game to be consistent. So really what we want to be able to do is connect our game loop to something called the composition target, which has a rendering system in there. And that's every time the frame is shown on screen, it renders that frame. So when you see a window, a button, or whatever, it's constantly being rendered. So it's in essence a loop. And so we want to connect our game loop to that rendering system. So I'm going to go ahead and declare that first, um, and I'm going to give it the address of my game loop. So I'm going to declare it up here inside of my subnew. And actually, I'm going to let all this stuff take place here. And then down here is where I'm going to go ahead and add my game loop because I want all of this stuff to happen first, and I want my game loop to happen last. And I'm going to put down here. All right, so now I can go ahead and add my game loop here, and I'm going to put add handler, and that's going to be a composition target, and then I'm going to put rendering. And now I'm going to go ahead and have that be to the address of the game loop. And that should work. And now I want to see if this is actually working. So I'm going to go inside of this game loop and I'm going to do a test. So I should see this printed out over and over again. Hit F5. Let's see what happens. And there it is. It is looping perfect. We have our game loop started. Go ahead and stop that. So now I can get rid of this test. And now we can move on from there. So down here I have my key events. And basically, I want to know if a key was pressed. And if a key was pressed, then I want this to happen, right? I want this move right to happen or move left to happen. Now, in order for me to track these keys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add myself some tracking variables up here. And I'm going to add something that's like, let's see, some Booleans. I'm going to call one left key. And then I'll call as a Boolean. And I'm going to call the other one right key as a Boolean. All right, so I have my left key and my right key as a Boolean. Now what I want to be able to do is, and by the way, you can do this way, or you could do it separately. It might be a good idea to do it separately just because it's probably more readable. That's more readable. So it's probably better to do that. And let me fix this. Left key and right key. Perfect. Now what we want to be able to do is add this logic to our application. So now in order to use these, here I don't want to move it when I press this button, but what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to go ahead and say that here the right key has been pressed. So I'm going to put right key equals true right there, and down here I'm going to put left key, and that's going to equal true. And the reason why I did that is because I want to be able to put something inside of the loop that's constantly checking whether this is working. So I'm going to go ahead and create a procedure that will go inside of, let's see, the main loop. And basically what I'm going to be asking this procedure is if the left key is pressed, then I want you to check to see which key was pressed, and if it's the left key, come back true. If left key was pressed, I'm going to feed a procedure the fact that the left key was pressed, and I'll call that procedure check key to move. That means check which key to move. Okay, so, and I want you to check to see if you can move. I'm going to put move. This would be the left key, right? The left key. Now, the thing about this is this check to see move hasn't been created yet. So what I'm going to do is, and all this is going to be wrong for now. We're building this up, but we just wanted to put the logic here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and generate this check to move. And inside of this check to move, what I want here is a select case. So I have this select case, and I want to check to see here. It's not going to be left key. It's going to be is key move, something like that. And I'll go ahead and put that here. And I want to know is if key move is left and if key move is right. Now that I have that there, I'm going to show you why I put left and right here. And I'm going to change this because I need to be able to make this more readable. Really, I could have done something like this. Like I could have made this not a Boolean, but a number if it's 0 or 1. Right, so if it's 0 or 1, do something. But instead of 0 or 1, I want this to be readable. So that's why I put left or right. And to make this work, I want to create what's called an enum. And that enum is going to represent numbers, which also it will be represented by words. So it will equate to numbers, but it'll be represented by like words like left, right, up, or down. So I'm going to go up here, up at the top of my class. If I put the enum at the top of my class, it's going to be public to all the classes. So what I want to do is I want to put it inside the class declaration. And I'm going to put enum move key. And that's going to open and close that enum. Now inside of there, I want to put left, right, make that capital also. Up and then down. Also, just for now, since I know I'm going to need it later, I'm going to put fire there. So now, the truth is, even though I didn't put any numbers here, what the enum does, automatically, this first one will equal 0. And the second one will equal 1, so on and so forth. So even without me putting this here, it automatically starts the first one off as a 0, and then it counts down from there. Now that I have this enum, I can go back down here into my check to move code, and I can give this an enum. So now I could say move key. And now I can have this go something like this. So this is my move key. And if this move key is move key dot left, and then this one would be move key dot right. So now I'm saying if this is 0 or 1, but now I don't have to say 0 or 1. I could just use this right here. I'm going to put the code in here in a second. But for now, I got to take this up here and give this the enum for left. There we go. So now if the left key was pressed, then give this the enum move key dot left, which is 0. And then it's going to come down here, and it's going to go ahead and run that from there. So now, of course, you remember those move statements that I had. So now I can say move left, right? And then I can say move right. So it was just a little refactoring that we did to make this more usable and allow us to be able to have some functionality that we're able to put inside of our loop here. So with the right key, pretty much the same thing. I'm going to take this, and instead of left key, put right key. And then down here, let's see, let me make sure everything is right. This is all correct. It's happening there. This happens from the left. All right, so let's try to run this and see what happens. There we go, left. So now the left works, but what we need to do is now go ahead and set our key up positions, because it's only going to work partially, because it's going to stay that way. It's never going to get to the next key. So we have to go ahead and do our key up to cancel out everything. We'll close this down. And basically I have my key down event. All I got to do here is take this, and I'm going to make this my key up. Now that I have the key up, I'm going to change this to false. And it already handles it handles the game, key up, so that's all set. So this should work. Let's see what happens. There we go. Now we have left and right. Perfect. And it's smooth. You notice how smooth that is now. So now we have movement in our game, and all we have to do is the same thing for up, down. So I want to make a note here. I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to put this is my game loop. And I want to remove this because I don't need these buttons anymore. If you want, you can keep it there for now, but you might want to make a note here. To do remove on final. Now the reason why I did this to do, because it's short, what happens is Visual Studio recognizes this, and inside of you have a to-do list actually. So if I move over here and I look at my task list, you'll see that to do pop up, and if I double click it, it'll automatically send me to that spot in my code. So it's a good idea to try to use these things to your advantage. So for now, we have a working and moving character, and the next thing we want to be able to do is allow the character to move onto the left side of the screen and then go to that particular level, for instance, like what we did here. So that's what we'll do in the next video. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you share the video. I'll see you guys next time.